Everyone in. Come in more. Let's get started with what's going on this week. I missed you guys last week. Did you guys hold down the fort, Cal?
There's a fort. I know. I thought we did okay. I thought the meeting moved along.
The meeting was a solid okay.
We didn't. I don't think anybody got sued.
Okay.
The lights are still on.
That's all good.
So all this stuff, like, yes. Well, time will tell. But I think we did okay.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, this week on Tuesday we have, today is Tuesday, 11 o'clock right after this book club. So again, just show up even if you haven't read it, if you want to start doing some Atomic Habits. That is hosted by Josh and Chad from Academy in the front room. And then, since we're kind of nearing the end of Atomic Habits, we decided to keep this going with the book clubs. And Andrew Anderson, who has presented to us, he's out of Keller Williams in Boise, and he's a coach, but he focuses like more on life stuff and mindset, right? Not like how many calls did you make coaching, right? So he's presented on our team meetings a couple times, and he wrote a book called Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow. And it's how to find courage and compassion in a turbulent world. Strength of the Oak, Strength of the Willow is like a ray of sunshine for both mind and soul. So we thought this was good just because mindset's going to be so important, right? As the market's challenging, we're finding more and more weird conflicts with agents who aren't so knowledgeable, more weird things coming out of the woodworks 10 years later, the client isn't happy. And I think that's just kind of a sign of the times, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, yes, you're right. And I also think that in like, there's very few industries where your personality and your business personality are like so interwoven.
Yeah.
In like real estate. So I think like working on you and working on your business. So
That's
I
good.
think it's really fun. Anyways, I like this guy. When he first came in and he started talking, I was just kind of like, I don't know if you guys know that I'm not like a big Kool-Aid drinker, but like, so first, I'm always skeptical when people open their mouths. But like by the end of the call, I was like really vibing on this guy. Like I really think he's cool.
Yeah, he has really good energy. Dwight and his wife even went to their like week-long retreat.
Yep.
So
Next Tuesday.
yeah, so he's gonna get on next Tuesday and talk to us a little bit more about the book, and he's gonna pop on to the book club throughout the series. And we're gonna start come get the books. They're in my office, and reach out to Sydney if you want to be in the book club. And there's also workbooks that we're getting too.
Yeah. Do you remember like when he was doing like he did like a couple one-on-ones like right after our meeting?
Yeah.
And like he brought them people to tears with like good like introspective like cleansing tears.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm excited to read this book, and I don't like to read, so here we go.
Yeah. This makes you read. I like the book club.
Yeah, me too.
And we're gonna keep the same time just for ease and continuity. So 11 o'clock right after this meeting. And this will start June 6th after the Atomic Habits Book Club is done. Okay, and then Austin's KW Tech Command Workshop this week.
Yeah, so after a little hiatus last week because of Rick Gray, back at it, going through the applets. The next one is opportunities. And a lot of people are familiar with opportunities. If you've had a transaction, or at least, it's just get paid, you have to use opportunities. But there's a lot that opportunities applet has to offer outside of just uploading documents and submitting commission checks. There's so much more when it comes to your tasks and a checklist and itemizing everything that you do for every transaction, so you don't miss a beat for buyers and sellers and leases. And so I'm going to go over that aspect of opportunities. So whether you are at capacity in your business or just starting out, the foundations start with this section of opportunities. So it's really cool. And I'll go over how to really structure that and bring your laptops, because we can definitely get that started on your end, so that, as soon as you have someone you're cultivating as a lead, like you can put them into opportunities and get that rolling. It's really cool.
Right, and use it as more of a pipeline management, not just submitting your paperwork when it's all done.
Exactly.
So cool. And if you have other command questions, you can also ask them and bring them up at this time.
Yes.
But it's really intended to be a workshop, so you leave with value. Are you coming?
Yes.
Okay. Good to see you guys. Okay, next up. So this is not a Keller Williams thing, but we're having it at the office. So tomorrow, the Women's Council of Realtors is hosting a networking happy hour and a CE class, and it's on ADA, multi-generational and inclusive housing. And it's going to be presented by Troy Farnsworth, and he builds designs that celebrate equality and equity, and just making sure that that is incorporated into the building design. So it should be a really good class. Yes.
I've known Troy for almost 20 years, and his focus on building is building multi-generational homes. You stay in your home, you cohabitate with children or parents, and that has been his focus for 20 plus years as an architect, as an engineer. And he's done phenomenal jobs for celebrities in California, all over the place. He knows his stuff.
Right. And then it's, yeah. So that's his background. And then he's broadened that, right, to when you think about wheelchairs, of like levels of counters and sinks and all kinds of things. So it should be a really good class. And it is from 4 to 5 is happy hour and networking, and there'll be food and drinks. And 5 o'clock is a CE class. There is a small cost for it, so you do need to register, but we would love to see you guys all there. And for those of you that don't know, I'm the president of the Women's Council of Realtors for 2023. So it's great to like bring everyone from that group into our office because we have the space. So peek in. It's $10 for members and $20 for non-members. So minimal, but just to cover like the food and drinks, and it should be a good time, good class. And men are welcome too. It's not.
I am a member,
Kelly is
and
a
actually
member.
they put on fantastic events.
Thank you.
Like they put on really good stuff. And so like if you aren't a member of the Women's Council of Realtors, I would suggest joining, networking. There's a lot of good people in there doing a lot of good things. So join.
Yeah, good plug. If you're interested in learning more, come ask me too. We're having a golf tournament in June. So that should be another fun event. Okay, next up on Friday, Mark has set up for Toastmasters to do a special thing for us. I'm not going to talk.
Okay, video?
Yes, please.
Always.
Just right in front of the camera. Just like face
Yeah,
first.
sorry, we made it difficult.
Okay, face first over here. All right. Friday morning at 6:30. Here, open house, Toastmasters. What do you have to lose other than anxiety at your next listing presentation?
Ooh,
I like that
that's
plug.
good.
That's the only part you're going to lose. You might be up an hour earlier than normal, maybe not, but why not get your day started earlier? I guarantee you will walk out at 8 o'clock and you will be invigorated. You'll be ready. You will be confident. And again, all that you're going to lose is that anxiety from your next listing presentation.
And Mark has his Toastmasters group meet here every Friday, but this Friday specifically, they're having like an open house for him.
Precisely. We're doing a focused open house for independent contractors, independent business owners. So this talks to you exactly what Toastmasters will do for you in your business and real estate. We're also bringing in a BNI group. We're inviting them because they're also business owners.
Good idea.
In that related satellite world. But specifically for you, because I know the guy who's running the meeting, it's going to be focused on you. Be here this Friday. Just take it for a test drive. That's all I'm asking. Show up, be here by 6:30 because we start at 6:35. We are punctual. We operate on the clock. You will be out of here by 8 o'clock. So be here. Again, what do you have to lose? It's free on Friday. We'll even kick in the new coffee from the kitchen.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
There you go.
haven't noticed,
Love it.
the coffee
I love
there.
it.
Thank you, Mark. for
You're
this.
welcome.
And then
Thanks, Mark.
you just show up. No sign up, right?
Just
You
show
go
up,
in.
bring your key fobs so you can get in the door.
Cool.
That's all you need to do.
Thank you. I'm going to try to come. It's a little challenging with the kid situation in the morning, but if I can swing it, I'm going to try to come. Okay. And then next week we have a good CE class, sponsored by First American Title, Mastering RMLS, Unlocking Hidden Gems for Real Estate Success. There's a lot of little tips and tricks in RMLS, especially as they make enhancements over the years. So if you've had your license for a long time, you probably took the original RMLS orientation like 5 years ago or whatever. So
23 years ago.
23 years ago, right? So they have a lot of classes ongoing, but I know not a lot of people go to those. So this is just going to be like good tips, tricks, hacks, if you will. Lunch is provided. So register. First American will provide a link just so they know how many people for food. And then it helps get you your CE credit paperwork easier if you register. So come to that next week, 11 o'clock in this room. And then Tony Kelly, one of our owners, who we have not seen a lot of lately because he is finishing up his PhD. So he's been very busy. He promises he's going to come back a lot more when he's done very soon. So he is currently the president of NAREB, which is a similar association to the Women's Council of Realtors, and it was created for Black real estate agents. And the reason both of those were created originally was because women and Blacks were not allowed to be a realtor. They weren't allowed in the National Association of Realtors. So that's why they were both created originally. Now they both have different goals, right? Like for Women's Council, it's empowering women into leadership roles because the higher you get in business, the less women you see. And Tony can talk to you a lot more about NAREB's goals, but very similar, right? To get more presence of Blacks within business and in real estate and all the industries that we serve. So also, because Tony does not have enough on his plate.
Because Tony is Tony.
Yes, he was president-elect for 2023 for PMAR, like Portland Metropolitan Association of Realtors, right? But, so which means he was scheduled to become the president for 2024. But the current president took a new position. And so Tony just last week became president early. So now he's president of PMAR for the rest of 2023, and then he will still do his full term of 2024. So this is really cool. A lot of times you think of PMAR as, you know, you just pay $680 every January and, you know, you're like, what does this money even go to? But Tony and I were both in Washington, D.C. last week. There's the NAR legislative meetings, and it's really incredible to see all of the legislation that is currently going on within our state, nationally, and then even like locally within Portland and Multnomah County also. All the legislation that affects the housing market and economy and interest rates and capital gains. And there's so many bills right now that can really make an impact on our industry. And so what NAR and Oregon Realtors and PMAR does is advocate for those, that legislation. So Tony's going to come in next week and talk a little bit more about what's going on with PMAR, what those bills are, what we can do to get involved. Every once in a while, you'll see those like take action emails from Oregon Realtors. That's because a bill at that moment is actually happening. So try to pay attention to those. Or we get those we get a lot of emails from Oregon Realtors, but we get like the advocacy ones and different things like that. Take a look at some of those. The videos are like 1 minute long, but some of them talk about what's going on with legislation that can really impact our industry. So Tony is great. He was just on TV like 2 weeks ago speaking about some of the legislation on Fox interviewed him. So we're going to have him here next week talking about that. But if you see him, please give him a big congratulations. Tony, if you're watching, congratulations on being double president. So he gets a bonus term. So we're really happy for him.
I've noticed like we're starting like our office in general, whether it's NAREB, PMAR, Women's Council Realtors, Rochelle being president-elect for Women's Council Realtors.
Yeah.
It's like,
we're represented. I like it.
What you're looking for is influential.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, one thing that it seems like it's always popping up and it's always being threatened is the removal of the exemption for capital gains tax. I mean, imagine if every one of your sellers had to pay capital gains on the house they sold, like how that would like slow down our market. It would be horrible. So that's a big initiative of all the realtor orgs is to maintain that. And so
right, that one seems to always come up, or even
The
increasing them. Right, getting rid of 1031 exchange.
Yeah.
There's always a lot of threats like that. There was one a couple of years ago that was adding an additional tax, right? So there's a capital gains one on the bill right now. So Tony will tell you more about all the specifics, or you can go read them on the Oregon Realtors and the
PMAR websites.
the PMAR website. So
It's a big deal. Yeah.
it is interesting. And then it really does help you see the value of like, oh, this is what they do, right? I mean, we get all the perks and stuff too, which we should remind everyone about, because you do get a lot of discounts and things as being an Oregon Realtor, and like access to like, you know, Adidas employee store, the Columbia employees, some of that kind of stuff, right? Okay, good to know, good to know. All right, next slide. So Tony and I were very sad to miss Red Day. If we weren't in those meetings, we would have definitely been here. So
One of the, maybe the
Thank you
best
guys
red
to
day
everyone
ever.
who
It might have been the
showed
best red day ever. At least one of the best one I've been part of, I think.
I'm happy. That makes me like happy, but also sad. But the weather cooperated. That makes it a lot better,
That made it
right? And look at all these cute pictures of you guys working hard at Rebuild. And it sounds like it was a great time. You guys accomplished a lot, and they have been very
Mhm.
thankful and grateful. They've reached out to Sydney a couple times saying how thankful they are for all the work that we did for them. So it also feels good to know that the work you guys did was very, very much needed, welcomed, and appreciated. So thank you for that. If you have ideas for Red Day for next year, comes every May, for a place that we should volunteer, let me know. We do usually have to organize it. The happy hour, right?
You can see some of the photos here because we had to reach a minimum.
Yeah, this is what I hear. This is what everyone tells me when I get back. We had to reach a minimum at the bar, so we
Things get a little
we
crazy.
did tequila shots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sound, you could have ordered some more food, but yeah, tequila
Everybody was
shots
full.
also.
Everybody was
That's-
full.
No, I'm glad everyone had a great time. But you do have to organize where we're going to do Red Day out way in advance, because it's actually hard to book places that want and can have the capacity for like 40 to 50 volunteers. So let's talk about that and see if we have some good things we can line up for next year.
Absolutely.
Okay. Lots of things. Okay, then we have broker bucks. Uh-oh. Last thing, and then down is that. Okay, our broker bucks program that we just rolled out last month. If you refer a licensed agent to come have a meeting with us, that's it. They don't have to join, right? I mean, we want them to join, but that's on us to try to show them the value, right? You guys are doing the task of referring people that you meet. If they are a licensed agent that meets with us and they actually show up to the meeting via Zoom or in person, we had it originally, you'll get $100 referral, but now for this month, we're doubling it to 200. And so if you have any other agents from other brokerages that you think would be a good fit here, please let me know, or people that just got their license, newly licensed people count too. But just like you guys thank your clients for referrals, we want to thank you for the referral, not just when they join and can go in your downline and things like that. So I'll just give a little sneak peek that there are some proposals that will be voted on at Mega Agent Camp for the International ALC that could impact profit share and make it more profitable for our agents that are here. So more to come on that, but it should be a lot more compelling.
Absolutely.
Monetary wise.
Yeah.
Okay. Broker bucks. And a couple people have already gotten them. We're going to hand them out in cash and make it really exciting. A big check.
You get a broker buck.
You get a broker buck. All right, let's talk to our special guest. Hannah, are you coming up too, or just Donna? Just okay, Donna, come up.
Slide out. Just slide over here next week. Right?
Yeah. So we are welcoming Donna Ellison from Ellison Team Homes, and yeah, totally.
I'd rather stand.
Austin thinks it looks better when we stand, but I'm always like, well, can I sit? And you have a team, and you guys don't work out of this office. So some people don't see you all the time, but you have been with us a long time. Great. Like, how long have you been in the business?
Totally. I don't actually know, but I'm licensed in 97,
Okay.
but I took 8 years off and I raised that person sitting at that table right now.
Oh,
I was trying
Good
to do
job.
real estate and be a mom, and it was just not working.
yeah.
So I took several years off, and then I came back with KW, I think 10 years ago.
Cool.
And we love it here.
Yeah.
We absolutely.
Actually, I just saw that you just had your 11-year anniversary.
Okay, 11 years.
Yes. Happy
am not-
anniversary.
It's like when everybody's like, what's your GCI? I'm like, I have no idea. Those things are not important to me, so I don't pay
Yeah.
attention to those things. I look at them because they tell me I have to, but I don't actually care a bunch about that stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So Donna is a great resource, knowledgeable. Oh, look at that, Master Circle. Good stuff. Okay. Today, Donna's going to talk to us about building your business through giving back in the community. In honor of Red Day, we just started talking about how there's so many things you can do to volunteer and give back within the communities that we serve that can also help your business. And it doesn't diminish the value of what you're doing and what you're giving back, And Donna is a great example of
I think
that.
it should
So-
promote it.
Yeah, it does
Yeah.
promote it,
Yeah.
right?
No, it does. And I was thinking about this and I think I have some unique situations. So I'm in a unique situation to a degree because my community is small. Canby is a small location. It's still a small town and it feels like a small town. So I think in many ways, I was thinking about the things that we do and how does that transfer when you live in the middle of Portland or the middle of Beaverton or Tualatin or whatever it is. But all of it really is the same. So it's kind of like, how did it start and how's it going now? When I've sold real estate all over Portland Metro. I've always done referral business. I learned that from my father, who was a realtor who used to work with Dwight. And I grew up in that business. So I was always exposed to real estate, building, construction, street of dreams, all of those things. That was my life. When your parents are divorced, you spend weekends with your dad. And when your dad's in real estate, you work, right?
Yeah.
So I saw all of that. I grew up in the business. Another company I went to work originally, it was Equity Group, Remax now, and worked with some of the top agents back in the day. A few are still selling very actively. I think Brian Bellers and I started at about the same time. He decided to take over Murray Hill. Back then we were.
I was working for Brian when that happened.
Were
It's
you?
funny, yeah. At his
So-
pizza place, at
so
his pizza place.
You know that. Oh yeah.
I know the whole story.
What was it called?
Home Court Pizza.
Home Court,
Home
yes.
Court Pizza.
And it was really good pizza.
It was pretty decent pizza.
It was amazing. And watching him and, we were somewhat contemporaries, but I was so impressed by him. And I didn't really have any of those thoughts at that time, but I was really impressed watching him. And he's morphed over the years and he's a wonderful human. But I was very blessed in that early situation because so many of those realtors were the top dogs in real estate. I was kind of grandfathered into an office of nothing but top producing realtors because I was the daughter of one. And there were three of us. There was two other daughters and we kind of hung together because we were the only people that appreciated computers. And I mean, this is back when we were faxing our offers, that we would all stand at the fax machine and fax what was 8 pages back then. And if that 7th page didn't go through, it was like, oh, I gotta do it again. So that's how it all started back then. And I had no real sense of anything other than I'm going to do referral business because that's what my dad's done. It seems to be successful. I see other realtors doing it. And that's how I started out. I still have some of those clients to this day. So it speaks to, I think it's a very good investment. Sold all over Portland Metro when I got back in, literally from down to Salem. Liz came in, she represents Washington. She grew up in Washington and she's been a part of the team for 7 years.
Everyone's
Wave,
That's with
LB, that's Hannah.
Hannah.
Hannah was selling real estate. If you've heard me talk before, she was in my belly negotiating real estate. The first time I ever listened to her negotiate a deal, Matt and I looked at each other and went, oh my gosh, she sounds like she's been doing this forever. She kind of has. But I didn't necessarily have a plan. I just knew that referral business was important to me. When I first got back in 11 years ago, a mortgage business partner and I bought Zillow leads. And back then they were actually very good. And she and I were both very good at turning them very quickly. And so now many of those people are clients that have sold 2 or 3 times. I'm working with, actually, I have one family, 4 generations that I'm working with. So that really kind of helped me boost back into the business. And then we were in Beaverton. We lived in Beaverton for 17 years and a lot of my business was there and all referral. And then we moved to Canby, which was kind of a crazy thing. It was a house. My husband moved his shop to Sherwood, so the location made sense. Hannah had graduated. We wanted a place where we had room for her to live until she could save to buy a house, which she's now done.
Buy houses down the street.
Yeah, she's my neighbor. She's my neighbor.
Yeah.
I told her, get out, but don't go very far. Stay close, but go. So we did all of that. And when I moved to Canby, and this is, I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but it's the truth. I wasn't really thinking about real estate because I do real estate everywhere. I'm going to still drive wherever I go. So it just wasn't even on my radar. We were pursuing this almost 100-year-old house that we fell in love with and we wanted to renovate and we gave ourselves 10 years to do it. And I had sold real estate in Canby. We had a family member that lived there. So I was somewhat familiar, but I remember like the week before we moved in, I looked at my husband and I said, are we insane? What if we hate Canby? What if it's terrible there? We knew nothing. So we move in, we live downtown, we're literally downtown Canby, and we start this whole adventure. And a series of events happened. So some of you probably heard of American Dream TV. Right about the time we moved there, I was invited to join that program, which I did. We did 3 shows, and one of the shows was highlighting, well, the Canby Ferry, because it's my favorite thing. If y'all haven't been to the Canby
It's so
Ferry,
fun.
you need
Love
to.
it.
I ride it back and forth because it's so short.
Nice book. Yeah,
It's I call it my ferry.
I love it.
I like that I stand on the side of the river and I wave and it comes to me. It just
Oh.
makes me happy. So I did we did part of it on the ferry, and then we did part of it on Wayward Sandwiches, which was this. When you first move to Canby, there's a handful of restaurants and they're all very good food, but this was like next level. Like he's elevating everything, and he's doing it with a business partner. And they're using all local farmers, TMK Creamery, which if you are from the area, you would know them. Also best corn dogs on the planet. Super fresh. They're smoking their meats, they're curing, they're doing everything. And it's not just a sandwich, it's like, oh my gosh. And it's in Canby, Oregon. And so I was super impressed with him. I had met him the first time at the country club. He made my first rye old fashioned. He did a great job. So I just liked the guy. So then I find out he's left and he's doing this. And so I say, hey, I want to put you on. He's a brand new business. Let's get you on this show. Right. So we interview him. We had a great response to it. He was incredibly appreciative of that because he had literally just opened a couple weeks earlier. And it was such a good experience. And then on the ADTV thing, we did 3 shows and then COVID basically shut it down. We couldn't do any more shows. And I just decided not to go back. To me, that didn't feel like my best use of time or any of it, but it was a good experience. And it was just COVID that shut everything down. But when we did that show, I had this moment of, we talk about partnering with CPAs, we talk about partnering with attorneys and people that make sense in our business, which I think is brilliant. And we do that. But I realized in Canby, I just had this light bulb. I need to be partnering with these businesses, these local businesses. And so many people in Canby have been there their whole lives. And if not, they've been there for 10, 15, 20 years. And it is very much a small town. And I was a new bird in town, let me tell you. It was a thing at first. I had a couple of people tell me, oh, our realtors are going to hate you. There's all this stuff about me being new to Canby. And I decided, I told Hannah, we're just going to go low and slow, and we're here for the long haul. But I didn't necessarily have a plan because I was still very busy selling real estate as I do anywhere else. And then COVID happened. Then we had ice storms. Then we had fire. We were all at the Be Ready, Go. We were rescuing animals. We were doing all kinds of things together. And one crucial thing that happened at the beginning of this was Stephanie T. Walt, who used to be with us. She and I were brainstorming one day about, I had always wanted to, we always liked the dog. I can't now remember what was the real estate company that had the orange dog?
Oh, I think they were a home store branch, but it was like Next Home or something like that.
I can't remember. I remember the dog,
Yeah.
which was brilliant marketing,
Yeah.
but I can't remember the name. But she and I would walk by and we'd see those dogs, and we all love our dogs so much. It was like, we got to do something like that. What can we do? And so I said, let's do something where we can benefit people. And I don't want to do something that's controversial because there's so many things right now that are, haters going to hate, right?
Used to be.
I think
Maybe.
it's
Next time, switch,
Sounds,
but
yeah, I think that's it. They had an office in downtown Oregon City, I remember, and it was really cute. But I give her full credit. She did a bunch of research and she found this organization called Fido. And I went and met with Nancy, who is the director. She runs Fido, and just fell in love with her. She's from the East Coast. She's hilarious.
Yeah.
She's been in before to talk to this room. And we just hit it off. And the philosophy of Fido is that any person that wants to have an animal should be able to keep their animal. And what you find out is that in several categories, whether it's seniors, which is what we focus on, vets, we also focus on, or just houseless people, they can't keep their animals. They can't afford to care for them. They can't afford to feed them. They can't keep them safe. Abused situations where people are trying to get out of abuse, they don't leave sometimes because they can't take care of their animal. They don't want to leave their animal. They're afraid the animal will be harmed as retribution. So it spoke to everything. I mean, animals have always been a huge passion for me and for all of us at Ellison Team Homes. And so we decided that every sale we close, we're going to donate to Fido, which we all do that as a team. And then we started getting involved with the 2 businesses in Canby that were already involved. And that's the Adult Center and Nature's Pet. And they had a collection barrel, and they collect cash. And then Meals on Wheels that comes through the Adult Center they have the list of all the people that need food, and chances are if these people need food, their animals need food. So what we do is we go once a month on a Wednesday and we pack up all the food for Canby and we bring it back to the adult center and we deliver it, and then it gets
It's the
push-
animals.
animals. Yes, animals. So all of that food gets, and it's also cat litter, it's treats, it's, we do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then they have, you can come there on the one day a month, you can come and people can get whatever they need, whether it's beds or toys or whatever it is. So it's a super great program. They operate on very little funding. She does a lot to try to bring grants in. They do some work with some of the police departments, Clackamas County. I mean, she's always working on trying to bring money in, but they're very low funded. And we couldn't support them more. Like, we're so proud of what they do. And it turned out as something we wanted to do selfishly because we love animals, but then as you get involved and you realize the impact, and sometimes she'll call me and she'll say, I got a lady in Canby who hasn't fed her dog for 3 days. Can you go meet her and get some food to her? Yes, of course, we do that. When the fires happened and we were evacuating, Oregon City was at go. And so we had tons of animals that had to be evacuated. And I'm talking, we had ox, we had horses,
Wow.
we had goats, sheep, rabbits, people, and Fido and a whole bunch of other entities all worked together to get, and I was calling people out in Washington County because it was safe there. So I had friends of mine coming in with their trailers, grabbing animals, taking them out to Washington County. And it was so impressive. And then shortly after that, we had the ice storm. So we were all without electricity for anywhere from 3 days to 3 weeks. And then we saw people doing cleanup. Nobody asked. People were just companies that had equipment were showing up, taking tree branches out of yards and clearing. And all of this sinks in and you realize this is humanity. This is community. I don't even know this guy. I went out and said, do you want coffee? What can I, thank you so much. Like, he's just helping me. And I was just so impressed by all of that. And so all of those things were kind of happening at the same time. And I just thought, I have to be involved in this community. I have to dig in this community. And so that's what I did. And that's where it came from. It had nothing to do, honestly, with real estate. It was just my heart for the community. So as things began to progress, we looked at the things that we have personal passion around, what's important to us. You're always going to do better if it's genuine. You're always going to do better if it's something you can speak to or you're passionate about. That's what's important to us. And we have similar values. We align very clearly. So that makes that a lot easier. But we got involved with chamber. Again, in a small town, it's kind of nice because most of the owners are in the room. You're literally always talking with the owners of the businesses. We started supporting, sponsoring, volunteering. Hannah became an ambassador to the chamber. We would show up and just whatever needed to be done, we would do it. We would volunteer. If it was a sponsorship of a golf tournament, of course, we're going to sponsor the fun stuff. We're now sponsors at Hairfest, which if you haven't heard of it, you need to. It's so fun. And we have so much fun. And it's 7 blocks down the street from our house, which is super cool.
Yeah.
But we sponsor that and we bring all of our clients in. We have all of our vendors and we bring people in to experience Hairfest, which is, does anybody know what Hairfest is?
Isn't it like a?
Oh, Josh does.
Yes.
Isn't it? Are you going this year?
Yeah.
Come see us. Did you?
Picture and everything.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, no, it is so fun. It's not cover bands, it's tribute bands.
Yeah.
Okay.
And being the age that I am, I've actually seen the real bands. Mark, I knew Mark would react. You've seen the real bands, right? At least once or twice. And some of these tribute bands are actually better than the bands that we saw when we were young. I'm just going to say it. Anyway, it's a very fun event. But what started happening through all this, another thing that we did that I think was really crucial is during COVID, our restaurants were hurting so bad as they were everywhere. And so my partner at Academy in Canby, Vanessa, we got together and it's like, what can we do to try to feed them? Because real estate was happening. We were thriving. We were doing great during COVID, but all of our local businesses were suffering. And so we did fundraisers at 3 different restaurants in town where she and I would buy $20. We bought $120 gift cards and we started at 50, but we ended up having to do 100. We invited our clients. So I invited people from Aloha, from Beaverton, Hillsborough, all over. And then it was for the locals as well. So the first 50 was started as 50, became 100. The first 50 people through the door got a $20 gift card off of, so they had $20 off their meal. And it brought people, and it was really outdoors because it was COVID,
Yeah.
but it brought 3 restaurants in town, and we did it. I think we did it once a quarter.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Was it once a
Yeah.
quarter? It was every 3 months. I think we did it. And we were there, and we were handing out swag, and we were talking to people, and we were meeting people, and we were shaking hands. And we had tears from some of the owners that we were working with because they were slammed. I mean, they were so busy, and it brought our clients together at a time when they needed to be out and they needed to see people and they needed to have an experience. I mean, we didn't even realize when we set out to help the business,
Yeah.
it helped us.
Yeah.
It helped the people. I mean, we had clients show up to those events I hadn't seen in a year or two,
Yeah.
but they just wanted to come out. They just wanted to experience something and have food. And there was music at all of those events. So it was just fun. And it was COVID, so it was complicated, but we did it.
Yeah.
And that seemed to just kind of cement relationships to the point where I now do business with many of the owners in town, and not just the owners, but they're referring me to other people in town. We're starting to get a pretty strong foothold in Canby in terms of the listings and buyers. And it's been, I will tell you, when I drive 2 minutes to a listing appointment or 2 hours to a listing appointment, it's really lovely. 2 minutes is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in Hillsborough last night. It's okay. It's what we do, but it's really nice when I look at the map and go, oh, I'm going to be there in 2 minutes. Yes, score. I don't feel like have my day in my car. So it's been a beautiful experience working in Canby. The other thing I did, because there are so many good realtors in Canby, some that are probably very well known, some that aren't, but people that have been there forever, that know everybody, that do a lot of real estate in Canby. I took a handful of those and I invited them, and I had done business with some of them. I had some relationships already, but I invited them to join me in a mastermind. So we get together, and we missed for Christmas, so we're actually a little behind, but we get together once a quarter and we have lunch or cocktails or whatever. And we talk and we brainstorm and we share problems and we share, things that are going on, or if we're going to have upcoming listings. And so it's been a really good way to ingratiate. I also love these women. They all happen to be women, not that men aren't invited, but they're friends now.
Yeah.
We have relationships with them. We're sending each other happy Mother's Day wishes now. And so when we see each other across the table, of course, we're thrilled with that. So I think part of it is, if you're going to get really involved in a community that has a stronghold, which most do, right? That's what we do as realtors. We're always cooperating. Kelly and I talked about that. We're always cooperating brokers, but take it a step farther and get to know those realtors, learn from them, because they're doing it. They have something to share. I don't ever assume that I know more than another realtor does, although I do know more than some realtors.
Very true. This is very true.
Say that out loud. But so part of it for me was just, it wasn't necessarily a plan. It was just what happened. And then I ended up hiring a social media person who happens to be in Canby. And I will tell you, this has turned out to be crucial, because we do get a lot of business now from our social media. And I literally get phone calls from people or emails saying, I saw you on I've been watching you on social media for a year. You look like you have so much fun. You do so many events. You help Canby. You're part of the community. So, and for me, having her be in Canby and know what to hashtag, who, all of that was so important. Before that, we had social media. We've always done social media poorly. We've tried a couple different ways of doing it, but poorly. And I've always been of the mindset that I want to sell real estate. I don't want to have to manage all the things I have to do. But I will say, in this last 2 years, I've really realized the value of having somebody that is aligned with where you're at and what you're doing, and can appropriately tag and push that. So that was a huge stepping stone in the right direction. And then we were invited to join the Canby magazine, which is the same coupon magazine that you see in any town in Beaverton, Portland, anywhere. In fact, it's the same company that does them all. But in Canby, it's a little bit different because we are smaller. And so every month we have a full page article, and our I don't want to say competition, but the other realtors that have a page in there, there's only 2 realtors, 2 lenders. They just continue to show their homes that they've sold. And I looked at that and they said, how do you want to approach this? And I said, well, I just don't think people really care how many homes I've sold. I just don't, and I'm not picking on anybody. We do that as realtors. We've always, I mean, back in the day, the Oregonian, if you open it up, it would be an ad of a realtor in every house that they'd sold. It's what we do. I get it. I'm not picking on it. But that was kind of the final piece to community, was saying, Let's talk about FIDO. Let's promote FIDO. Let's talk about our local, we highlight our business partners so that people, our photographer, our stager.
We highlighted ourselves so people knew who they were.
Yes,
looking
we
at
started with the
us.
story of us.
Yeah.
We started with who we are, where we come from. We talked about Ellison Team Homes and our animals and our wives and husbands. And we talked about all of that so that people understood kind of who we were. We did a highlight each month on each one of us. And then we started with highlighting vendors and calling out vendors and promoting and supporting vendors, which they're super appreciative of that. And then now we're focused on, we've got a couple of different things that we're working on and that are coming up. But like this next June, the June 1st ad will be on all the events because we're sponsoring Hair Fest and Can Be Big Night Out, which is dance, music, fabulous. We do the dunk tank and we get the police officers against the firefighters and it's hilarious. But we just do a bunch of fun things during the summer. So we're letting everybody know, come see us at these events. And again, and this is not to get a real estate listing right now today, but what is absolutely coming from this, last week I got a phone call. Hi, my name's Dana. I saw you in the magazine. I've seen you around town. I know you do a lot. Will you come list my home? Literally, and I went, we went to the listing and I said, I don't ever make assumptions. Are you meeting with other realtors? No, I can tell from the magazine, you're the person we need to, so done, right? Goes to market in a month. And that's starting to happen more and more now. And we've got these business owners that are calling saying, hey, my brother's moving from Boston. Can you, and Liz was because they're looking in Washington and Oregon. So I said, hey, Liz, do you want to take this one? She got on the phone with them right away. Yep, let's talk to them. Let's take care of them. So what's happening through community is that we're doing things that we're passionate about and we love. And it's a lot. I cannot keep up with my life sometimes.
Well, being sensitive to time, but also on a very basic level, because I know like for me, a lot of these things take financial support. And Ellison Team Home supports, which is amazing, but I personally can't necessarily do that much. So the number one thing that I would say if you're like starting out and wanting to do this is just be present. Make yourself available, make the time. If someone needs help with something, they need help rearranging the tables and chairs, whatever. If someone's putting out umbrellas because they have outdoor seating and it's hot out, help them put out just be there. And if you have a community that you like and you know you want to expand in and be a part of, then just be present. It doesn't have to be financial. It's super helpful. It's amazing to sponsor all the things, but making yourself a part of the community by being there and helping everyone, that's like a huge deal.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's when I say community, again, I think we're in a unique situation to a degree because Canby is so small.
Yeah.
Who I would have never planned that in a million years, but it's worked out absolutely beautifully. And I am so passionate about our community. I love it so much. And there are so many good realtors there. I'm not even sour if I don't get the listings because there's so many good people there. But what I would say is portable and something that can be done anywhere is kind of the thought behind that. What are you passionate about? What are the things that you care about? We all know Mark likes cars, right? You've made a name for yourself with that.
It's his community.
Yes, that is your community. And it could be animals, it could be anything, really. It has to be something that you are passionate about. And if you live in a large community or you feel inundated by other realtors, that's okay. That is something to take into consideration. Asking them for coffee to pick their brains, maybe understand how they penetrated a market, having them kind of be on your side versus against you, maybe. Being really open and transparent with people about things, but really pursuing the things in your community. And that doesn't literally have to be where you live. That could be if you play disc golf, if you, what your organizations that you belong to. I mean, you have gained, I'm sure, so much from the relationships, as have you. Just like when you're in here in the office, you all gain from each other from those relationships. So whatever that is, wherever that is, if you don't have a small town to do it in, it can still be done. Pursue what is important to you. And I would say, I always have approached real estate from not a financial standpoint. I've always approached it from a do the right thing, take care of my clients and sleep at night. And if you approach your community building that way, I think you will be so rewarded. And what comes naturally from that is real estate. And it's, I would say, a higher level of real estate. It's a no-brainer. Like these people don't even think twice.
Yeah.
They just assume they're going to do business with me. And I didn't once ask for that.
That's great.
what you're building there is
Yeah, that's so
fantastic. And
good things. I
you,
know.
you mentioned Brian Belair's, and he has the same thing going down on in Southwest Beaverton, where people just know that they're going to call him to sell his house.
Yes.
And you're building the same thing in Canby, which is fantastic. And it's actually, it's very similar. It's so similar. If I see your parallels, because that was a small little niche. It was Murray
was.
Hill,
Mhm.
and now it's this huge thing. Canby is growing really fast
It is.
too, and
Mhm.
you're growing along with it. I think it's amazing.
Well, and we're doing it a little bit differently because we've got also Hannah and Liz, which I'm always thinking about. And two different scenarios. Liz is in Beaverton, actually very close to Brian Belair's. But Liz is amazing and she shows up in Canby. She participates in Canby. She's advertised in our magazine. She also has family there. And we always, I mean, we're not lying to anybody. She doesn't live there, but she shows up, she participates. She's got her elbows, she's in with these events with us.
And I may or may not.
Right. Come
Mm.
on. But she's also sold real estate in Canby.
Mhm.
So, and not because of me, completely unrelated. So, and we show up for her too. I mean, that's the cool thing for the three of us is that we're able to show up. But Hannah and I are doing now more and more together partnering, because as I begin to think about, the next 5 or 6 years, and maybe I don't do so
Yeah.
much working. It's just going to be a no-brainer for them to thank Hannah because they're already seeing her. She's right next to me all the time. We're now going to listing appointments together. We're kind of splitting how we're doing all of the business in Canby, but we're splitting everything. And we did that initially because it was complicated for the clients because they would know it. They talked to both of us.
They talk to one of us, assume they're working with one of us, and then the other person would show up and they're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Mm.
Or the opposite, where they
Yeah.
would think they
It's a
didn't.
team.
They didn't want to not work with one of us or hurt one of us or whatever.
Mm.
And it just felt like it was just going to be complicated. So we just said, we're just going to share Canby.
Mhm.
And it works out really well. And I mean, we have actually felt like it's working out really well, but we know most of the same people. And it's, to me, also a great way for this legacy business for Hannah to continue with the
Mhm.
business
Absolutely.
because she's a partner in all of this.
Yeah.
And she's doing great and people love her, but she is equally involved. And Liz is too. And that's what's been amazing to me is Liz always has to make the trek from Beaverton for our events because we had a long talk about that initially was, I'm going to focus on Canby. Are you good with that? I don't want to. And if Liz has something that she wants to pursue, we will support her in that. But for us, our focus has been very much on these things in Canby and just taking care of people in Canby. There are
Yeah.
so many good people there.
And I think what you just said is important because sometimes I know agents can be fearful that if they focus too much on a geographical area or a specific niche, are they eliminating the business outside of that? And no, you'll still work with people anyway, but when you're focusing on your lead generating, your event, your marketing money and time,
Yes.
you're focusing in a more specific area to a more specific group of people. And then everything you said about the business owners, because they talk to lots of people and then networking with the other real estate agents. I think that's really smart. And in order to do that though, you have to have that mindset of abundance, right? If you consider everyone your competitor, then you're gonna be like, why would I meet with other realtors, right? But if you have that mindset of abundance, like they can be successful and they can be successful and they can be successful and I can be successful and one does not take from the other. A lot of beautiful things can happen and you just have become, you're like the queen of Canby.
What's the article say? The Maven?
Maven.
Oh, Maven.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I know.
Which I said, I think is just a way of saying I'm old and I know stuff. Maybe
I
not.
said it's that she's wise and very knowledgeable.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's what we're going with.
So that is what how it's going now is they reached out about 6 weeks ago and said, hey, we want to do an article on you. And I said, well, we do an article every month. And they said, no, we want to do it on you. And I said, oh, I don't really want to do that. And they said, well, you talk about real estate, you talk about your business partners, you talk about your team, but let's talk about you. You do a lot. We've noticed, like, basically they said, we watch you. You've done a lot. We want to talk about that. So I didn't go in the article with all of the things we do because that's not why I do it. And I'm not trying to be that guy. I think it's kind of gross, but I did talk about kind of some of this stuff with just the idea of Canby and the community in Canby, but that they solicited me for that. And it's wonderful that they did, but they called me the real estate maven of Canby. So
I love it.
I love
you can't
that.
complain
I
about
love
that.
No, I love that.
And I like how Hannah brought up that if you don't have a ton of money to dump into a community, you can still door knocker farm an area. You can show up at all the the free events.
Yeah.
You can, some events to sponsor are shockingly inexpensive, right? If you have kids, you can volunteer at their schools and
Yeah.
like, get involved in all the school stuff or the kids' sports,
Yeah.
coach your kids'
It's-
sports, right?
It's very
Anything.
layered. There are
Yeah.
so many different ways to do it, and it's a very layered approach, and it doesn't necessarily take a lot of money. We choose to sponsor things because that's what we want to do, but we could do so much of what we do without sponsoring or writing a check.
Yeah.
Showing up, volunteering, and actually working side by side with
Yeah.
people does a lot of it. But again, I think a lot of it comes to, especially if you're in bigger areas, key relationships. And Mark mentioned earlier, obviously Toastmasters, BNI. When I got back into real estate 11 years ago, thank you for that.
Mhm.
I had been taking care of my mom who passed away, and I was kind of out of people touch, honestly, because I was kind of just doing that for almost 2 years straight. And I was kind of nervous to get back in and talk to people. And, I hadn't, why was I an asset all of a sudden? It's been a while. And so one of her old babysitter said, hey, come check out BNI. And I'm like, what is that? And she told me, and I did. I was actually a VP with BNI for 2 years. And then I left because I felt like it had done its, but some of those are still relationships to this day. So if your community is a massive community and inundated with a bunch of realtors, make your community a BNI group, because I assure you, if you show up and participate, you will gain business from those relationships. I am still doing business with several of those relationships. So you can choose your community, whatever it is. It can be a passion or a love. It can be business relationship. Choose your community, something you're passionate about, and dive in. You're just not going to be, you don't lose for it. There's no losing side to it.
I love that. And when you're doing something good, giving back within your community, being active within your community, it feels good too, right? So
Yeah.
that's going to show on the outside versus like if you're cold calling expires and you hate it,
Yeah.
right? Like what version of you is going to be shining through?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and that's just like Kelly says, not really a Kool-Aid kind of a girl. There's just so many things that I'm not saying they're bad, and they are successful. Those didn't ever feel like the right things to me.
Mhm.
I did so much of my business building just by, again, a lot of it was Zillow calls the second time around, but I did a ton of open houses, and I got to know people, and I talked to people, and I followed up with people. You can build community around something that's important to maybe one of your favorite clients.
Yeah.
What's important to them, showing up. Maybe it's golfing, maybe it's something, you've never done before, but pick a handful of clients and focus on something that's important to them, because that pays off tenfold. I have several clients that I work with, several generations that I've worked with for several years, and talk about actual net real estate that comes from that. It's great. Like sometimes you sit back and go, I don't even know how this happened, but it's because you showed up and you cared about them in the first place, and you did a solid job when you sold their first house or helped them buy their first house. But a lot of times, some of the things that we do come from our clients directly and their interests.
I heard something today, overheard something today in a call that you were on. They were talking about successful real estate being prospecting based and marketing enhanced. And I hate that word prospecting because it just feels like I'm sitting in a puddle of water in a stream sipping through. I don't know. I just don't like it. But what I think it really means is it's like relationship based. So like listening to you and talking about what you've done and what you're building. It's all based on the relationships you've built along the way, and in the marketing stuff enhances obviously. But that's why I don't like the word prospecting. I like the word relationship. It just came to me when you were talking.
I think
that's
that is
really good. That's a key.
Brilliant. When I think about the words that are important to me, they're all not real estate related or production related. They're honor, integrity, relationship. Those are humor.
Yeah.
God knows we need humor in this life right now. It's hard right now out there, right? We're all dealing with people in a very different mental space than we probably have dealt with in our careers. And so humor is a really important word. It's me just laughing at myself.
Yeah.
It has to happen every day. But those are the words that I think about that are really important in both my business and my personal. Going back to what you said at the beginning of the meeting, there are few roles in your life, career-wise, where you're so personally involved with your professional life. Everywhere I go, it's still business. We walked in, I mean, it doesn't matter where I go now. It's always somebody there that's a client or somebody that we know from the business. So you might as well get comfortable, settle into it, enjoy it, because you're in for a ride.
I love
Yeah,
that.
like
right? You are your business.
this has been so eye-opening to me, because again, what I overheard today and then what you're saying today, it's like when you're out prospecting, you're just so focused on the product, getting the product to the market, right? You're focused on, I need to go find a client, I'm gonna go prospect. And it comes across that way, like people feel it. But when you're out there just building relationships, it happens organically and it's real and it's long lasting and it's forever. And it is such like a solid foundation to your business. I just love that. And the other thing I'm sorry, I'm hijacking this, but like you were so confident. I just love you. Oh my gosh. Like I totally want to be you when you grow up. Like you're so confident. Like you're so confident. I'm just gonna go out there and be me. And like people like you when you're confident, when you're like holding
And
back.
genuine.
Yeah,
confident,
genuine. I
right?
just love that. I just love it.
People don't want to work with you trying to be like a
Yeah.
weird professional version of you.
Yes.
Or like laid back, you know, you
Just
have to
be
just
you.
be what you are.
Be
so,
you.
It's easier.
yes.
Yeah.
I spent years being insecure and not how, I mean, trust me on that. So, and I don't know that driving here today, I'm like white knuckled. I've got sweaty palms. I don't like talking in front of people. We've
couldn't
talked about that
Oh my
before.
gosh,
You're
you
not
did
that-
amazing. I didn't even have to. ask
That's
that.
just the truth. But the reality is I honestly, and blessed is a word that gets overused sometimes, but I feel so blessed to be in the role that I'm in with the people that I work with. These two women are amazing human beings. You have all treated us at such a high level. You take care. I mean, Kelly, how many calls have we had in the last few weeks?
I don't Not enough. I'm gonna say not enough. Call me more. Call me more.
And you
I've got a
are
lot to
always
learn.
so loving, and Dwight is just,
Mm.
we love Dwight, right? Like, so we are very blessed, and we have some of our clients are just what, psychotic. I'm just gonna say that, but we have so many good clients. We have so many good people. I don't think there's a better way to do life. That's
Yeah.
just the honest to goodness truth.
I love that.
So good. Thank you so much for being here, Donna and Shay. Thank you, Hannah and Liz.
Yes.
And you said so many good little nuggets. I hope everyone can take some things
Yeah.
away and think
Thank
about how
you.
they're gonna give back.
I
So
feel
round of
charged
applause
up.
for
I
Donna.
got goosebumps. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm hugging you.
Yes.
I love
hugs,
it.
hugs.
Okay, have a great rest of your day, everyone, and see you at all the things, right?
All the
Austin's
things.
command class tomorrow.